Hey there, this is Robert Thompson with the Molalla Real Estate Report for December 10th, 2022. It's actually December 11th. I apologize for my tardiness here, but you'll get the general gist. All right, let's get into it here. What I've got here is the market index. This is done by a company called Altos, and it's an index you can pull up on a daily basis just to see what they're saying the advantage is to seller, buyer, balanced market, etc. So we can see here yesterday's gauge shows a 38, which is a slight seller's advantage. And if we look at November 14th, so less than a month ago, it was a 48, so a strong seller's market. If we were to go back a few more months, you'd be up in the 70s and 80s when it was a very strong seller's market, as any of you who were buying a house a few months back knew. Now, it's still on the seller's side, but it's just not nearly as strongly on the seller's side. Now, this is the 97038 zip code, not just the city. And in a minute, we're going to look at a 3-year line of this index, and you can see what's changed over the last 3 years. We're at the lowest we've been in 3 years, by the way. And just so you know as well, this gauge does not bring into account anything about interest rates. Okay, this is just, as you can see at the bottom, the rate of sales and the inventory. Okay, those are the factors here. So whether you can afford, there are more houses on the market, it's more advantageous to the buyer than it was, but that doesn't mean you can afford it if the interest rates are still too high for you to qualify for the house you want. So just keep that in mind as you look at this. It's good for the buyer, but it's not the end all be all necessarily, is what I guess I'm trying to say. So let's go on to the next page. This is the historical average of this index. Just look at the solid line here. Don't worry about the dotted ones going up and down. And if you look here we are at 38. If you go back, you haven't seen it below 50, except for right here back in the end of 2019, which is pre-COVID, obviously. And it looks like it was probably at 45 or something like that right there. So it's lower than it was then. So it's the best it's been for buyers in a while as far as the things that this index covers go. And moving on here. This is from the same report, and it is a snapshot of the market as of yesterday when I pulled the report. And this again is for the whole 97038 zip code. It's not for the city of Molalla. And it shows the median list price at $49,450. Excuse me. The median price of new listings at $472. The price per square foot at $318. The average days on market, let's just skip that because that's a number thrown off by a bunch of big numbers. The median days on market, 77. Now, price decreases, that means that 46% of the listings, and there were 24, if you look down here, I also ran the numbers in a separate way and got 26, and I didn't explore why, but you get, it's about that number, 24, 25, 26. But 46% of those have had price decreases since they've been listed. 0% of them have had price increases since they've been listed. So that's kind of a sure sign of this particular market when listing prices are going down. Sellers who have been a little slow in learning that the prices are not going up, skyrocketing as they had been, are still pricing like they were. And so when they realize that the market's not going to catch up with them ever, if they stay at that price, they drop their listing price down. And that's what those price decreases are. So that's not a value decrease. That's just a listing price decrease. Now, relisted, we'll skip that number. Inventory, 24, like I said. The median rent, again, I don't use this. This is $1,995, it says. I mean, that sounds good to me. If you disagree, let me know. And again, the market action number is showing a slight seller's advantage at 38. Moving on. And, also another thing, just another thing to note as you look at these numbers from Molalla or any other small community is that it's really difficult sometimes for small markets because there aren't enough items in the sample to average things out. So if you have one big number or one small number, it can really throw off the rest of the numbers. So sometimes, as you'll see in a slide or two here, I have taken something out because it was throwing everything else off. There was another case in June in Molalla where a million plus house sold, and it had been on the market for 600 and something days, I believe it was. It was sneaking up on 2 years. And that one house, because of the days on market and because of the price, threw off all of the numbers for the zip code. So I had to take that house out of the mix to really get a better picture of what the averages were, what the general picture was, the trends. So just keep that in mind always with small markets. I'm going to try and put something together actually that's a little more widespread. So maybe, getting Colton and Molino in there, you know, a little bit more of the area, but there aren't any pre-made reports. So I've got to develop my own, and that takes a little time just to kind of figure out what I'm trying to get and how to get there. So keep your eyes open. On to the next. These are just some fun facts about the 97038 zip code. So we had 30 in the last 30 days. I mean, we had 7 sales. In the last 90 days, we had 41. You notice the slowdown here. In 30 days, 7. That would be 21 in 90. And it's actually 41. So we've really slowed down. That's due to both the slowing of the market and due to seasonality. You know, what percentage is what is impossible to say, of course, but it's definitely a slowdown. Highest price sale for the last 30 and 90 days was $1,041,000, obviously the same casa. And then the lowest price sale last 30 days was $367,000. That was a manufactured home. And then the lowest price stick-built home that sold was $390,900. And then the lowest price sale in the last 90 days was $240,000. Now that house, I did look it up, it was not turnkey. You weren't going to just move into that house. So there was a project there. So that's, you know, that accounts, or that's how the low price came to be. So moving on. Okay, now this is within the city limits of Molalla. Okay, so I drew a map in the MLS and sorted them by that. So the average list price and the median list price are very close to each other, 443,772 and 445. Now, price increases and price decreases 5, which is similar to the number for 97038. So it was at 46%, if you recall. This is 5 of 11, which is, you know, 45% or something to that effect. And that's what you would expect to see in this kind of a market. There were 2 price increases, and I probably shouldn't have put that in that way, to be honest. Now that I think about it, I should have limited it to the last 60 days, because these were houses that have been on the market for a long time, and they had increases, but they weren't recent increases. So it's not like last week they thought to themselves, we need to increase our price now. It was something that they did back when prices were still going up at a quicker clip. So average price per square foot is $290. I think it was $311 for the zip code of 97038. So it's about $21 cheaper. That's my bulldog barking at my washing machine, by the way, if you can hear that. Average and median days on market, very similar here, 39 and 37. If you recall, in 97038, I told you to disregard the average. I think it was 112. And the median was, I think, 77. So significantly less when you get into town than it is outside of town. And the inventory in this is 11 houses. I did mention earlier that I took out 1 building, and that was this one at the bottom, a 4-unit building that's for sale. It's a little apartment complex, or little apartment. And I took it out because its numbers threw everything else off significantly. So I can give you the numbers for the 4-unit if you want to know them, but I took them out of this mix. All right. Last, we're going to talk about interest rates. Now, the interest rates, you know, I'm not a loan officer or a lender, but this is just a little bit more of math and information. If you look back to October 20th of this year, 7.37% was the rate versus yesterday at 6.38, according to Mortgage News Daily's little graph here, and mortgagenewsdaily.com. You can go check it out anytime if you like to geek out on numbers and things. But we're going to use that just as a you know, a trend so that we can kind of analyze things. So that's almost a full point drop there, 7.37 to 6.38, 0.99 percentage points. So what over here on the right, I did a little amortization table, and I plugged these numbers in. And I assumed a $500,000 loan amount. I put in the correct interest rate, depending. I put in a term of 30 years, and then I calculated the payment. So at the 7.37 from 50 days ago, you were looking at a $3,452 payment versus yesterday's rate was $3,120. That's a difference of $332, which is pretty significant. Now, let's just say on October 20th, you went into the bank at 7.37 and they qualified you for this loan. Well, they said, okay, you can afford, because this is how they do it. They look at what you can afford for a payment. They came up with a $3,452 payment. It's going to make sense for you. That qualified you for a $500,000 house, right? Well, let's say you waited, didn't buy anything, and you went back into the same bank, and this time everything else was the same, but the rate was 6.38 instead. Well, at that $3,452 payment that you qualified for before, you now would qualify, if you look down here at the bottom, $553,611. So you qualify for over $53,000 more than you did when the rates were a point higher. which is over a 10% increase. That's a pretty significant change. So, that's another boon to the buyers out there. It has gotten better. What's going to happen, is anybody's best guess. But I would say this to you. This is my personal thoughts. We're never going to see these numbers that are back here on the left side of the graph, the threes. That's just not going to happen again, at least not anytime in any reasonable near future. They may come down from where they are now, but don't let something slide by. There's an opportunity cost here. If you have the perfect thing come along and it works at this price, then get it. If interest rates don't come down, then interest rates don't come down. If they do come down, then you can refinance in the future and lower your payment. But there's a whole lot of stuff out there that's still going to be a good deal. People are going to make money and do well in real estate, regardless of what the interest rates are. They always have and they always will. So just keep that in mind. It's not as pretty as it was, but at least now when you get out there, there are houses that are actually for sale versus, when the rates were down here, you couldn't get a house, So there's give and take here. But there's a couple of economic reports coming out this week that are going to affect interest rates as well. So, we'll just keep watching that, keep an eye on it. And that's about it for now. So I'm going to give you my information here. I'm Robert Thompson, Managing Principal Broker at Artisan Real Estate. My website is RobTRealty.com. RobTRealty@gmail.com, and my phone number obviously is here. So please call me if you have any questions about the market, about the process of buying or selling a home, or if you have questions about a specific house that I can answer for you. I'm always happy to help. So have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.